My mom and sister threw a birthday banquet for my niece at a luxury hotel. Every grandkid got a custom gift badge except mine. When my daughter asked why she was ignored, my mom said, "Some kids just don't deserve it." I left without saying a word. What happened next had my sister crying at church. Welcome to Cheat Sheet Tales, where loyalty dies, lies bleed out, and the truth hits like a slap to the face. These aren't just stories. They're confessions soaked in betrayal and regret. Ever spotted a red flag when it was already too late? Say it in the comments. Let's tear into today's tale. I'm Elena. I'm for two, divorced, and a single mom to the most incredible 8-year-old girl, Lila. I've lived in Richmond, Virginia my whole life, just like my family before me. What I'm about to share isn't just a petty revenge story. It's a story about how far a family can fall when love is replaced with image, and how dignity sometimes looks like silence right before the storm. Growing up, I was never theft of right. My sister Celeste, the younger own, practically wore a tiara by the time she was 10. She got the shiny birthday parties, the praise, the allowances, the unspoken protection from every consequence. I was the difficult one. I spoke up. I had opinions. I didn't smile when I didn't feel like smiling, and my mother Vivian was the kind of woman who would host a garden lunch on just to someone else's baby shower. She wore matching scarf and glove sets. In July, she was sweet tea and shade, all dressed in pearls. After my divorce, when me husband decided being a dad wasn't part of his 10-year plan, I moved into Asmol 2-bedroom in Chesterfield, started working double shifts at the clinic, and poured every ounce of my soul into Lila. We weren't fancy. We didn't wear monogram sweaters or have country club memberships, but we had love. Real love. My mother never saw it that way. She was polite in that surface level bless your heart kind of way. She'd invite Lila to family things, but never alone, always as an accessory to me. And when Lila started noticing, it got harder to brush off. Still, I bit my tongue for years. But what happened at Audrey's birthday banquet was the last straw. It was a Saturday in early spring. Celeste's daughter, Audrey, was turning 10, and they decided to throw a grand southern high tea at the Jefferson Hotel, Richmond's most opulent spot. Crystal chandeliers. Marble floors. The kind office where a bottle of water costs $10, and they ironed the tablecloth as mid-meal. Celeste sent out these engraved invitations on thick cream cardstock, tied with little satin bows. When Lila gathers, she danced around the kitchen. She spent the week before the party picking out her dress. We found a cute blue onion sale at Macy's and even bought little matching barrettes. She was over the moon. The banquet room was unreal. Flowers in towering glass vases, a string quartet in the corner playing Disney songs turned classical, and a giant gold balloon arch with Audrey spelled out in cursive across it. Each child had a designated chair with a place card, a mini velvet pillow, and a custom gift bag. These bags weren't just goodie bags. They were deluxe, customized journals, name-stitched scarves, little books, puzzles, and personalized boxes of chocolate. Every child, except Lila, her seat was the only one with no bag. No name card. Just a plain chair. At first, I thought it was a mistake. I looked around, then crouched beside her. "Sweetheart," I said softly, "maybe they forgot to set it out. I'll go ask." She nodded. She was trying not to look upset, but I saw the shift in her eyes. That little crease of confusion in her. I walked over to Celeste, who was wassailing with two women in pastel sweater sets. I waited until she noticed me and stepped to the side. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice low, "I think Lila's gift bag got missed." She blinked, looked toward the table, then said casually, "Oh, here. Mom didn't do one for her." Just like that. I was stunned. "What?" "She only made them for the grandkids the ones she wanted to include." I stared at her, trying to register if I misheard. Then I went to Lorraine. She stood near the dessert table inspecting a tiered tray of eclairs. Like a royal inspecting peasants. I walked over and asked calmly why Lila didn't get a gift bag. She looked me straight in the eye and sighed, "Some kids just don't deserve it." No emotion. No hesitation. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't make a scene. I turned, walked back to Lila, leaned down and whispered, "We're leaving now, honey." She asked, "Did they forget it?" I looked at her, her big hopeful eyes, and just said, No, baby. But wouldn't be long here. We walked out of that ballroom hand in hand through a sea of asterisk fake smiles and clinking silverware. I didn't tell anyone what happened that day. Not at first. We went home, Lila, and made popcorn, watched a movie, and I told her I'd throw her the best little day offer on the next weekend. But something inside me shifted. A silent line had been crossed. I wasn't going to beg for decency anymore. I wasn't going to keep patching the illusion of family when Lila was being treated like an afterthought. But I didn't plan revenge. Not right away. It came naturally. The first ripple came from a woman named Tara. One of the other moms at the party was friends with Marita's in-laws. She noticed that something was off. Apparently her son asked why one girl didn't get a bag. Kids notice these things. She filmed the gift bag reveal on her phone and captured the moment Lila looked around and realized she had nothing. She also very clearly caught my mother's voice in the background. Some kids just don't deserve it. Tara sent the video to her husband. Her husband shared it in their churchmill group, and that's where things started to unravel. All with the same pattern: favoritism, subtle digs, exclusion. My mother liked to build people up just enough to knock them down and still appear innocent. Then came the newsletter. Yes, a newsletter. Celeste and my mother had a little social group they ran in the fan district. A club called Southern Bloom. All about femininity, faith, and fellowship. Think overpriced brunchs, guest speakers who sold essential oils, matching robes for retreat weekends. I knew they were gearing up for a spring launch and had a fresh digital newsletter that went out to nearly 300 subscribers. I used a throwaway email disguised as a submission. It was titled Reflection from a Fellow Mother. I wrote, "This month, as we talk about grace, I'd like to share a story of what grace is not. Grace is not treating one child as less than others. Grace is not punishing a mother by using her child as a pawn. Grace is not saying some kids don't deserve it, when what they deserve most is love. You may not know the child I speak of, but she was at a birthday party you may have attended. She left empty-handed, but she left with her dignity, something adults in the room lacked." I attached the voice clip of my mother. They published it without screening it. And that, my friends, was the final domino. I didn't know they published the newsletter at first. It was Celeste's friend Elise who told me, though. She didn't realize I was behind it. She called me in a frenzy 2 days later. "Did you see what someone submitted to the Bloom newsletter?" She hissed into the phone, like I was supposed to be as outraged as she was. It was about that birthday party. The one for Audrey. Someone aired the whole thing out. I mean, they even included the audio. Nat. You could hear Lorraine. Clear as day. I faked just enough confusion to keep her talking. Wait. They actually put that in the newsletter. Yes. I'm telling you, the whole list heard it. Celeste is losing her mind. She's convinced someone hacked the submissions. Vivian wants to sue the hosting site. I muttered a quiet wow and hung up not long after, citing a bad signal. By nightfall, the newsletter had been pulled offline, but the damage had been done. People talk, and when you try so hard to build your life, like a flawless scrapbook, one torn corner is all it takes for people to see how thin the pages are. And it wasn't just strangers reacting now. Extended family started reaching out. Cousin Claire from Roanoke messaged me, "Was that story about Leela, Jesus?" Nat. I had no idea. My Uncle Ray, who hadn't spoken to me since my divorce, called and left a voicemail. "Didn't realize things were that bad between y'all. That's really messed up. Leela's a great kid." Even Aunt Val, the gatekeeper of all family drama, posted a cryptic Facebook status that said, "Some folks forget that children remember how you made them feel," with a flower emoji. She might as well have tagged Vivian. It was a slow motion implosion, and I didn't even have to lift another finger. Meanwhile, Leela and I just lived. We went to the farmer's market every Saturday. She made a new best friend. At school, Sheila, a fellow bookworm who loved horses and hated lima beans. I finally took that pottery class I'd been eyeing for years. Every so often, I get updates about the fallout through the grapevine, but I kept quiet. I didn't need an audience. I had my daughter. That was all the validation I ever needed. But the quiet wouldn't last long. One Thursday afternoon in late April, I got a knock at my front door. I wasn't expecting anyone. Leela was at a sleepover, and I was halfway through folding laundry. When the knock came again, harder this time. I opened it. Celeste was standing on the porch. She looked wrecked. Her mascara had bled down to the edges of her cheeks, and she held a wrinkled copy of the Bloom newsletter. Printed out in full color like a murder weapon, she didn't say anything right away, just stared at me with a kind of broken fury. I didn't say anything either. I waited. "You humiliated us," she said finally. "No," I replied evenly. "Y'all did that yourselves." She took a step forward, holding out the newsletter. "You wrote this. Don't lie to me. I know your tone. The way you phrase things. This is you." I didn't deny it. I just looked her in the eye, calm, controlled. Maybe that pissed her off more. "Mom hasn't left her house in 2 weeks," she hissed. "That's 2 weeks more reflection than she's had in years. She's not the villain you think. She is." I crossed my arms. She looked my daughter in the eye and told her she didn't deserve a gift bag. "I'm not thinking about anything." I watched it happen. Celeste's mouth opened then closed again. Her fingers trembled. "Do you know how hard I work to keep things running smoothly? To make sure Mom stays happy, to balance everything?" "That's not balance," I said quietly. "That's codependence, and it's poisoned everything." She looked like she wanted to throw the newsletter at me, but instead, she just crumpled it in her hands. I didn't realize how cruel it was until after. I swear I didn't answer. She swallowed hard. "Audrey asked why Leela doesn't come around anymore. You can tell her the truth." I said that the grown-ups failed. Celeste stood there for a long time. I could see it, the conflict swirling behind her eyes, the panic, the unraveling of a life. "Bill on polite lies. And then, just before turning to go, she said something I didn't expect. She loves you, you know, Mom, in her own twisted way." I nodded. Double quotes, maybe. "But Leela doesn't need that kind of love, and neither do I." She left without another word. I closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding for 15 years. Life quieted down after Celeste's visit, at least for a while. Leela thrived. Summer rolled in thick and warm over Richmond, and with it came fireflies, popsicles, and Leela running barefoot through sprinklers in the backyard. She was happier. Lighter. And so was I, but deep down, I still felt the unfinished edge of it all, like a book left half closed on a shelf. My mother and Celeste may have felt the sting of embarrassment, but they hadn't changed. They hadn't truly reckoned with what they did. Not really. They just lost control of the narrative, and people like them, they hate that more than anything. Then in August, I got a call that gave me the perfect opportunity for closure. Real, satisfying closure. It came from the director of a local nonprofit, the Richmond Women's Coalition, a network I used to volunteer with years ago, before the divorce, before life got too heavy. They were organizing their annual fall fundraiser, a public event with silent auctions, speeches, and a community service awards ceremony. They invited me to speak. Apparently, one of the board members had heard about the newsletter incident and how I'd quietly stood up for my daughter without fanfare or dragging everyone into public mud. She said it was the kind of integrity young women need to see. I hesitated at first. I wasn't looking to wave a flag or give a TED talk, but then I asked, almost offhandedly, "Who else is speaking?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Well," the director said, "your mother Vivian was invited to present the Volunteer of the Year award. She's still scheduled." My lips parted slightly, not in shock - no. In satisfaction. I smiled. "I'd love to speak," I said. And just like that, my opportunity arrived on a silver platter. The event was held at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. Leela came with me, wearing her favorite yellow dress and a little sunflower clip in her curls. I told her it would be a long night and she could bring a book if she got bored. She didn't need it. The banquet room buzzed with the usual genteel crowd, philanthropists, business owners, local leaders. Celeste was there, standing beside my mother, both dressed in elegant neutrals like they were preparing for a photo shoot. The second Lorraine saw me walk in, her smile faltered for half a second. I held her gaze, nodded once, and kept walking. The program moved along. A welcome toast, a youth dance performance, an update on the coalition's community outreach. Then it was my turn. I stepped onto the small stage, adjusted the mic, and took a slow breath. "Good evening. My name is Elena Harper. I'm a single mother, a nurse, and a proud Richmond native." A few polite claps. "What you may not know," I continued, "is that I've spent the last few years learning not just how to raise a daughter, but how to protect her spirit from people who believe love should be conditional." I didn't look at my mother, but I felt her stillness. I told the room a story, not with names, not with malice, but with clarity. I told them about a little girl who was the only child at a party who didn't receive a gift bag. I told them how that child was made to feel invisible, how the people around her smiled and went on pretending nothing was wrong. I spoke slowly, carefully, like I was turning the truth into a mirror and letting the audience decide whether they saw their own reflection in it. And then I finished with this: you don't have to scream to make a difference. Sometimes, all you have to do is walk away with. Dignitian refused to come back until you're treated like you matter. That little girl taught me that. I gestured to Leela, who was beaming from her seat, her little feet kicking gently beneath her chair. The applause was long. A few people stood. I stepped down from the stage and walked straight past Vivian, who was next in line to present. When she stepped up to the mic, her voice was shaky, not loud, and for the first time in my life, she didn't seem in control. She fumbled through the award presentation, skipped half her prepared remarks, and rushed off the stage like she was walking through fog. Later that night, several women came up to me thanking me, saying how the story reminded them of their own childhoods, or how they'd stayed quiet when someone was cruel to their child out of fear of family fallout. I didn't stay late. Leela was getting tired, and I was ready to go home. As we gathered our things, Celeste came up to us in the coat room. Her expression was unreadable. "Leela," she said gently, "you looked so beautiful up there." "Thank you," Leela said, polite but cool. Celeste looked at me. "She's going to grow up strong." "She already is," I replied, helping Leela into her cardigan, and then quietly, sincerely, Celeste whispered, "I'm sorry." I looked her in the eye, and for the first time in a very long time, I believed her. "It's a start," I said. Then I took Leela's hand and walked out into the night. The crisp fall air kissed my cheeks, and Leela squeezed my hand a little tighter as we crossed the parking lot. "Mom," she said, "were you nervous?" I smiled. "A little, but you didn't show it." "Sometimes," I said. "Courage just looks like telling the truth and standing still while people hear it." She didn't say anything else, just nodded. We got in the car. I turned on the heat, flipped through the radio. Leela found a station playing one of her favorite songs, and we drove home, windows up, hearts full, past the museum, past the lights, and into a life that finally felt free.